Um, chorea and tardive dyskinesia, levodopa-induced dyskinesia. So these are kind of a common category of problems, where coriform problems. There are three approaches to treatment. So the most aggressive and ideal guideline approach that I usually don't start with is the benazines, which are dopamine depleters. So they are VMAT2 inhibitors, and they deplete dopamine, and they just prevent further formation of dopamine vesicle. So they have less dopamine to use. So they don't block dopamine receptors, but they basically block dopamine production. So VMAT2 inhibitors, tetrabenazine, deutrabenazine, and valbenazine are recommended treatment of choices, but they're usually my second or third line treatment. I don't go for them aggressively. The main things to know about them is that, number one, they have an effect on heart. They can slow QT intervals significantly, especially at higher doses. So you have to be cautious, and it's probably better to get a baseline EKG. You also need to know that not everybody metabolizes those benazines equally. That's especially true for the tetrabenazine, that if you are going above, I believe, 25 milligram once or twice a day, then it's probably better to check their metabolizer status. And if they are a rapid metabolizer, then you can go up. If they're slow metabolizer, then it's recommended not to go up any further, because the risk of side effects is too high, and watch their QT interval and repeat EKGs if you're going up on high doses. In terms of efficacy, I think that both newer tetrabenazines, deutrabenazine and valbenazine, so deutrabenazine Austedo and valbenazine is Ingrezza, both of them are better than xenazine, which is the tetrabenazine, in terms of less dosing, longer benefit of duration, and more benefit in general. In between the two, I don't think one is better than the other. I have favored valbenazine myself, but it may be an unconscious bias because of my discussions with the Ingrezza team, the company. I cannot think of who has Ingrezza. I know deutrabenazine is with Teva, and I somehow don't have a good impression of Teva in general. But in specifically with Ingrezza drug, based on the literature review at that time with the drug reps, I was definitely more impressed by valbenazine somehow. But again, don't rely on it. I think they work about equally, and any one of the two can be tried. So that's one approach. The other approach that I almost never do is dopamine blocking approach. So dopamine blockers, which will be the drugs like Risperdal. Haldol is a complete no-no. It's a very, very bad drug in Parkinson's in any patient, and can create a lot of problem. By the way, the dopamine depleters do not cause tardive dyskinesia, but they do cause dose-induced or dose-related Parkinson's disease. So if you increase the dose or even a starting dose, your patient may notice some Parkinsonism, and you can notice Parkinsonism on examination, but it is dose dependent, and it gets worse as you go up on the dose and gets better as you come down, and goes away once you stop the drug. Tardive dyskinesias have not been reported with the VMAT2 inhibitors. Now, dopamine blockers, on the other hand, classically cause tardive dyskinesia. The worst one is haloperidol. And the other ones may be a little safer. Our Huntington Center of Excellence director, Dr. Hellman, strongly believes in Risperdal. She uses a lot of that, and she was trained by, what's her name? She's the, her mentor was Ruth Walker. Ruth Walker is kind of the father of chorea, Huntington's disease management. And Ruth Walker protocol algorithm is followed by most centers of excellence on Huntington's. And she was the mentor of Dr. Hellman, and Dr. Hellman is a big fan of Risperdal for those reasons. I personally avoid it. There is a paper from Baylor which noted that Pimozide, their personal experience on tic disorder, was that Pimozide does not cause any tardive dyskinesia. So if I'm going to use anything for any dopamine blocker for chorea or tardive dyskinesia, it's going to be Pimozide to avoid further tardive dyskinesias. So the third approach, which is my go-to approach, is the non-dopaminergic approach for management of dyskinesias, whether it be tardive, whether it be chorea, whether it be Huntington's or non-Huntington's chorea, and so on and so forth. I also place restless leg syndrome in the same, not sorry, akathisia in the same category of coliform abnormalities. So my go-to drugs are the non-dopaminergic ones. By the way, Depakote does work very well, but it's also a dopamine blocker, and that's why it works very well for tardive dyskinesias or for levodopa-induced dyskinesias or for choreas in general. So my favorite drugs are drugs non-dopamine blockers. So one of them will be NMDA receptor antagonist. So amantadine is the most obvious one that everybody can think of. Amantadine is used for levodopa-induced dyskinesia for the same reason. We talked about Gocovri earlier. And other that people don't often think about is memantine or Namenda. So memantine is also an NMDA receptor antagonist and can be used for that reason and might have some slight anti-dyskinetic benefit. And then other drugs that don't work on NMDA that might reduce dyskinesias will be clonazepam and baclofen and propranolol. All three have benefits known, including benefits in akathisia and tardive dyskinesia and other choreas, Huntington's, and would be a reasonable option to consider. And often I start with one of these options, either amantadine or baclofen and clonazepam, before thinking about the benazines as next option. And I almost never go to dopamine blocker. May have tried Pulmazide a couple of times at most, and maybe Risperdal once in my last 7-10 years.